Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's your girl, the fancy Nancy, the fanciest Nancy you will ever meet in your entire life, I guarantee. Today I'm back with another YouTube video. Thank you so much for your support on my first video. I'm very excited to be officially on the platform. And today I'm going to be covering a topic that I get asked about all the time, mainly on Instagram, which is how my husband and I became expats in the UK. Now, I'm going to preface this video by saying that this is our lived experiences as Canadian citizens. It's not going to be the same if you're an American citizen or a French citizen or, whatever else. This is specifically for those of Canadian citizenship. And before I get started, I would like to encourage you first to subscribe and show me some love on this channel. And yeah, we're gonna get straight into it. So, like I said, my advice is for Canadian citizens. But if you're a member of the Commonwealth, of a specific type of Commonwealth, so if you're Canadian, Australian, New Zealander, is that what they say? Yeah. But if you're essentially from richer Commonwealth countries, this process, like the processes my husband and I went through, can apply to you. But if you are a member of predominantly like African Commonwealth countries like Nigeria, I believe Ghana is also a member of the Commonwealth, or India, those countries, unfortunately, I don't believe that what I'm going to share will apply to you. This is definitely a privilege that I recognize that I have, that my husband and I have as Canadian citizens. Which is, to be honest, like quite unfortunate that not all members of the Commonwealth get to benefit from the same privileges, but such is life. And I'm going to get going with the first step that I took to move here. So if we rewind to 2017, I moved to London to study law. So I moved for law school, and my husband actually moved to Paris for business school. So we didn't move here at the same time. And when I moved, I applied for the Tier 4 points-based student visa. Now that visa is quite easy, to be honest. My experience applying for it was very easy. And all I really needed to show at the embassy was my acceptance letter for university, proof that I had paid the deposit, which was, it was like £3,000 that I had to pay to get a CAS number, which the school gave me to allow me to apply for the visa. And I was panicking because this was my first visa application that I ever made as an adult, because as a Canadian, I never really had to apply for visas to travel. So it was a very foreign process for me. So when I went into the visa appointment, I had everything. I had high school transcripts, university transcripts from my first degree. I had everything with me. And the guy, I went to the VFS office in Toronto for my appointment. They have offices all over Canada, but I lived in Toronto, so that's where I went. And the guy basically was laughing at me, as you came way too prepared. And all he took was that letter from school that had my CAS number on it to show that I paid my deposit, and then my acceptance letter from school and my passport. That's all he took from me. Despite the fact that I had, bank statements, all these other things to prove that I could maintain myself here in the UK once I came for school. They didn't take any of that. They just took those three things. I asked why, and he said that it's kind of like a bilateral agreement that as a Canadian, you don't really need to show anything to come to the UK as a student. And that was it. The process was fairly simple. Get accepted, pay your deposit, receive your CAS confirmation letter from your university, submit your visa application on the UKVI website. And then once you do that, you need to pay for the immigration health surcharge, which is what you will need in order to have access to the NHS, which is the National Health Service. I forget how to speak English. If you're in Canada, it's basically free healthcare like we do get in Canada, but to be honest, I feel like the one in the UK is a bit better, and I'll get into that in a different video. But you pay your surcharge. At the time when I was applying, my surcharge for both years of my visa, which was how long my degree was, the surcharge was around $658. It's nearly tripled in price now, so just be mindful of that. Once you pay for your surcharge, you're gonna get a bunch of confirmations via email, and it's going to now ask you to book a biometric appointment with VFS Global. That's the company that handles quite a lot of different visa processes globally for multiple countries. I know they do like Nigerian visas, like they do a bunch of different things. So I booked my appointment. You have to pay separately to book the damn appointment. Like so many payments, like it's all these little things that they add up. So you pay to book your appointment, your biometric appointment. They'll give you a date. You show up to the date with your document. Again, my experience was that I brought all these documents and they only took like 3 things from me. Your experience might be different, so just bring whatever it is on that checklist that they ask you to bring, and make sure your passport still has some years left on it, at least like 2 years. And yeah, I think that was it in terms of getting the student visa. My visa was approved fairly quickly, and all I had to do then was go pick it up. And then when you go pick it up, they give you a letter as well, which says where to pick up your residence card, your BRP card, once you arrive in the UK. Your student visa allows you to come into the UK to study full-time, and universities are quite strict about international students attending classes. At least mine was. So make sure that you are following the conditions of your visa, because you don't want any trouble with that. Attend your classes. If you're not going to be there, provide a doctor's note if you're sick. And you can work as a student in the UK, but you can only work, I believe, up to 20 hours a week. You can't have a full-time job. The second visa that I got on, which my husband actually moved to the UK on that visa, that one was the Youth Mobility Visa Tier 5, and it's also a points-based visa. The Youth Mobility Visa is unfortunately only available to citizens of Canada, Australia, Monaco, New Zealand, I believe Japan, Hong Kong, South Korea, and Taiwan. Only those citizens can apply for it. And it's a really good visa because as Canadians, we're able to come into the UK for 2 years without requiring sponsorship from a company. So you can come in, even if you're self-employed, you can come in, do your own thing for 2 years. And the process was kind of similar because it's points based. Each criteria gives you a specific amount of points. The most points you get obviously for this visa is being from one of those, I think 8 countries that I listed. So once you get those, that's the bulk of your points. And then you needed to show, at the time when we applied, we needed to show that we each had at least, I think it was $2,300 or pounds, one of the two. I will insert all the right details next to me. But yes, you have to show that you have the maintenance funds to maintain yourself while you're in the UK. And of course, once you do your application online, you pay for your immigration surcharge. And for this visa, you also have to pay for an appointment with VFS Global to process your BRP, because even though I was a student and I had a residence card, that one had expired. So I needed a new one under my new status, which was that I was now on the Tier 5 Youth Mobility Visa. And for this visa, once you go to your appointment, they do check your bank. So this one, they did take a bank statement that I had to prove that I had, enough maintenance fund to sustain myself. And this one gave me a bit of a heart attack, to be honest, because I applied for mine in January 2020, and word of Pandemica had already started circulating, and I was in Canada because I'm a Canadian citizen. I had to apply for that in my country of citizenship, but my husband was able to apply for his youth mobility visa in France because that was his country of residency. Because for me, the UK was my country of residency, but I was not a citizen. I had to apply for that visa outside of the UK. It's a whole thing. So I went back to Canada. Once I submitted my application, it just was taking so long. I think it took almost a full 3 weeks. By the grace of God, it came through and I was able to come back home just before the pandemic hit. Otherwise, I would have been probably stuck in Canada, but we thank God. The thing with the youth mobility visa is that each country has a yearly quota, so a yearly amount of people who can apply for that visa. For Canada, I don't think Canada have ever hit the quota, to be honest, because most people don't know about the visa, but I talk about it to everybody because there's a time limit to when you can apply for those visas. So as a Canadian, I can apply for the youth mobility visa up until when I'm 30 years old. So I can, say for example, apply for it 2 weeks before my 31st birthday. So I can move to the UK as a 31-year-old on a youth mobility visa, but my application needs to have been accepted before I was 31. So 30 is that cutoff point. So you have to be between 18 and 30. And another very important thing is that you cannot have any dependents. So if you have children, you will unfortunately be denied because the visa is called youth mobility. You have to be a mobile youth, and children don't really make you all that mobile. So it's very important that you adhere to those criteria because they form part of the points that you need to get, as it is a points-based visa. And it's a visa that I recommend to everybody. I think it's important when you're young to travel the world, and this visa allows you to go to all these different countries because Canada has these agreements with, I believe, all the other countries that I listed. So take advantage of it if you are under the age of 30 and travel the world, and you never know what might happen. The last visa that I'm going to speak about today is the Tier 2 Skilled Workers Visa. Now, that is the visa that my husband is currently on, and I am his dependent on that visa. This one I think is our most important visa because of the three that I've listed, it's the only visa that allows us to be on the path to citizenship. Our starting point towards naturalization really and truly started for my husband last year in September, and for me this year in January, because that's when I switched my visa. So the skilled workers visa is essentially a visa that you need sponsorship to get. My husband is sponsored by his work, and the good thing is when a lot of company, when they sponsor you, they will also pay the fees. And you know, these visas, they do get quite expensive. I think it's around like 3,000 to 4,000 for each of us to apply for the visas. And luckily, grace of God, I swear, his company paid for both of ours. You apply on UKVI, you pay the surcharge, you attend your VFS appointment, you take your pictures, they redo your fingerprints to make sure you're still the same person, and yada 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 yada. The reason why I'm a dependent on my husband's visa as opposed to being sponsored by the company I work for is because in addition to working in the corporate world, I'm also self-employed. Like, I have a marketing agency and I do my own stuff. And when you're sponsored by a company, it becomes very complicated and confusing for you to respect your visa conditions and to also do like entrepreneurial stuff. So for me, as a dependent on my husband's visa, I can basically do anything I want. I can have 5 million jobs. I can own 10,000 companies. I can do all that as a dependent, whereas he can't as the primary visa holder. But I have all the same rights as him. We pay, you know, you had to pay for the immigration health surcharge, so we do have access to the NHS. As I said, this visa puts us on the path to naturalization, which is what we would like eventually. That's basically what we went through, the 3 visas that I've been on and the 2 that my husband has been on. And I know that the UK has introduced a lot of other like really cool visa opportunities, but I won't really get into them on this channel because they don't apply to me. I can only speak on my personal experience that I've had, and for anybody else, I will, you know, put the links of everything down in the description bar. Check out UKVI. It's a great resource. For a lot of these things, if you follow the processes, you shouldn't need a lawyer. You should be able to do it yourself because they're very, very simple to follow. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a very long video, I'm sorry, but I just wanted to make sure that I'm as thorough as possible. I also wrote a blog post about it, which is even more thorough than this video, and I will link it below, so go ahead, have a read. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section or find me on Instagram or Twitter and we can chat all about it. If you are Canadian under 30, I do recommend that you apply for the Youth Mobility Visa. If you are thinking of studying in the UK, I recommend it. If you want to study law in the UK, I highly, highly recommend it. And I'll do another video about law school in the UK and how and why it's great for Canadian citizens. And yeah, that's pretty much it for me today. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it to the end, I love you so much. Thank you for watching once again. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to thumbs up this video if you liked it. And I'll see you in my next video. Bisous, bisous. Oh, and by the way, I do speak French. It's my first language, so one day I'll try and do a video fully in French, but I will say my French is horrible now. Not horrible, but it's more like Canadianized now because I grew up in Canada. But I'll try and do a full French video and we'll see how that goes. But in the meantime, stay very, very fancy.